This is the third lesson in the topic trigonometry, the sine ratio, cosecant ratio, and inverse sine. Now that we've been able to define and use the sine and cosecant ratios in the relationship between the length of the opposite side and the length of the hypotenuse given a reference angle, we are now going to look at being able to use the inverse sine in a right triangle to solve for unknown angle measures. So we note that being able to use the inverse sine, we're looking for the degrees on the inside of the triangle because we've used the same thing when we looked at being able to find the inverse tangent. So in this case, all we have to have is two sides of a right triangle to be able to calculate the measure of either acute angle by using the inverse sine. And so we're going to use that inverse sine on our calculator just as we did with using the inverse tangent. With the inverse sine, remember, you have to have your calculator change from radians to degrees for your answers to be correct. Let's take a look at our example below. In this example, we're going to determine the ratio for sine B, then we're going to use the inverse sine to calculate the measure of angle B. So a couple of key things here is that we know that our reference angle is going to be reference angle B. Now, for me to be able to find the sine of B, I know that I'm looking for my opposite over my hypotenuse. So in this case, the sine of B, my opposite is 11 over my hypotenuse, which is directly across from that right angle of 25. So I know the sine of B is 11 over 25, but remember, we're looking for our inverse sine. So to find my inverse sine, I'm gonna look for that inverse sine on each side. And so my inverse sine will be here. Now, I'm canceling that, so I know B has got to be equal to, and I'm gonna rewrite this over here for sake of it being written properly and how I'm gonna actually put it into my calculator. So I have the inverse sine of 11 over 25, or 11/25. So when I put that into my calculator, I get that B is going to be equal to 26.1 degrees. So that's how I find my inverse sine. Now, let's take a look at another example. Here, we're going to calculate the measure of angle X for the triangle below. We're going to round our answer to the nearest hundredth, which that means I'm going to go 2 places after my decimal. So again, my reference angle is going to be reference angle X. And I know to find the sine, I'm going to have the sine of X is my opposite over my hypotenuse. So the sine of X is my opposite over my hypotenuse. But remember, now we're looking for the inverse. So I take and I include the fact that I'm looking for my inverse. And so remember my inverse sine, that will get rid of that. And so I'm going to rewrite it because I'm looking for the inverse of 8 over 15. And so when I do that, I end up with X is 32.23 degrees. Put that over here. 32.23 degrees. All right, that's how I find my inverse sine. Thank you, and I'll see you in our next video.